Ja, hallo zusammen und herzlich willkommen
Hello
zum ersten
everybody
Vortrag aus
and
der
welcome
Reihe
to the
Cloud
first
Transformation.
presentation from our
Mein
cloud
Name ist Christian
presentation
Winn.
block. I'm Christian
Ich bin
Winn.
Solution Architect
I'm
und bin seit
solution
2,5 Jahren bei
architect
MHP.
and I've been with
Neben mir auf der
MHP
Bühne
for
heute ist
2.5
Lukas
years.
Mack.
Next to me
Der
we have
kommt von
Lukas
Eberspächer
Mack.
und ist dort
He
Product
comes
Owner
from
für Business
Eberspächer.
Services.
He's product owner for
Und
business
wir hatten das
services.
letzte Jahr das Vergnügen,
Last
auf
year
einem
we
Projekt
had the pleasure
zusammenzuarbeiten
of working
und werden auch
together
heute
on a
das anhand
project
unserer Customer
together,
Success Story
and
vorstellen,
we will present
nämlich das
this
Thema
in
Cold
the
Chain Monitoring.
context of this customer success
Unseren
story.
Vortrag haben wir so aufgebaut, dass
Namely,
wir in den nächsten
cool chain
20 Minuten mit
monitoring.
euch die
The
folgenden
next
5
20
Fragen
minutes
beantworten
we're going to
wollen.
answer the next
Erstmal zu
5
Beginn wollen wir klären, warum
following
MHP der
5
perfekte
questions. First of all,
Partner
why
für
is MHP
Cloud-Transformationsprojekte ist.
the perfect partner for
Zweite
cloud
Frage wollen wir
transformation
klären, wer
projects?
ist Eberspächer überhaupt
Secondly,
und was macht
what
Eberspächer?
or who is Eberspächer?
Die
What do
dritte
they
Frage
do?
wird sein, wie
Third
löst Eberspächer
question, how
die
does
Challenges in der
Eberspächer solve the
Kühlkettenüberwachung?
challenges of a cool
Viertens gehen wir
chain
noch ein, wie die Lösung
monitoring?
technisch aufgebaut ist. Und
And
zum Schluss stelle ich noch
what is the structure of the
Frage, was
solution?
sind die
And
5
finally, the
wichtigsten
question, what are
Services
the
oder
5
Bausteine
most important
für
services
IoT-Use
or
Cases?
modules for IT use cases?
Wenn wir diese Fragen
And once
erfolgreich
we
beantworten
have
können, dann bin ich froh,
answered
dass wir
these
bin ich
questions,
sicher, dass wir als Speaker eine halbwegs gute
I'm
Rolle gemacht
sure
haben.
that our speaker will
Ja,
have done
dann
an
würde ich sagen,
excellent
steigen wir auch mal
job,
direkt ein mit
which
der
I'm
ersten
sure he
Folie und der
will.
ersten Frage.
Let's start
Warum
with
ist
the
MHP
first
der
slide.
perfekte Partner
Why
für
is MHP the
Cloud-Transformationsprojekte?
perfect partner for cloud
Wenn ich heute in dem
transformation?
Kontext, oder wenn wir heute in dem Kontext von Cloud sprechen,
Now, when we
dann
talk
meinen wir
about the
dabei
cloud
konkret den
today, we
Hyperscaler
mean
Amazon
the
Web
hyperscaler
Services,
Amazon Web
kurz
Services,
AWS.
AWS. Now, why
Das
is
erste Argument,
MHP
warum wir
your
als MHP
perfect
der perfekte
partner? We
Ansprechpartner
as
für
MHP are the
Cloud-Transformationsprojekte sind, ist
perfect
unsere
partner,
Partnerschaft mit
is our
AWS selbst.
partnership with AWS
MHP ist Teil
itself.
des AWS Partner
MHP is
Network
part of
und
the
aktuell haben wir
partner
auch
network and currently
den Advanced Consulting Partner Status.
the status of
Das Partner
advanced
Network von
consulting
AWS ist eine
partner. The
globale Community
AWS
von Unternehmen
partner network is a
mit dem
community
einfachen
of global
Ziel,
companies with a simple
die Kunden
goal
bei der Nutzung von
to
AWS optimal
support
zu
customers
unterstützen
in using
und deren
AWS
Cloud-Migration zu
optimally
beschleunigen.
and to accelerate their migration into the
Das
cloud.
zweite Argument
The
ist ganz
second
klar das
argument is
Know-how
very
und auch das
clearly
Know-how
the
von unseren
know-how
Kolleginnen
and
und Kollegen.
especially of our
Aktuell haben wir
colleagues.
bei MHP über 400
MHP,
zertifizierte
we
Kolleginnen und
have
Kollegen.
400
Das bedeutet, jeder Achte, den ihr
colleagues.
heute auf dem
So
Festival
every
trifft,
eighth
hat
person
wahrscheinlich schon
you'll
eine
meet at this
AWS-Zertifizierung.
festival probably
Hier mal
has an
kurzes
AWS
Show of Hands.
certification.
Bitte einmal die Hand heben,
And can you
falls ihr
show
schon bei
your
eine
hands?
AWS-Zertifizierung habt.
Do
Einfach
you
mal
have an
halber.
AWS certification already?
Ja,
Just to
sieht ganz gut aus. Also ich glaube, jeder Achte kommt man tatsächlich
I think
hierhin
every
heute.
eighth person probably has one.
Genau, diese
Now,
AWS-Zertifizierungen sind zum einen
that
wichtig, um unseren
AWS
Partnerstatus zu
certification is
erreichen und auch zu
important to
halten.
achieve a
Aber noch
partner
viel wichtiger ist
status
natürlich,
and
dass
to
dieses
keep it.
Fachwissen, das wir da
But it's
haben,
also
in
important
unser
that the
tägliches
knowledge
Geschäft
we have
einfließt und in
will flow
unser
into our
tägliches Business,
into our
wo wir eine
day-to-day
Vielzahl
business,
von
where
Customer
we have a
Launches auch
large
schon
number
begleitet
of
haben.
customer launches that we have already supported in the past.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you very
Zunächst
much.
mal Eberspächer, wer
First
sind
of all,
wir, was
who are
machen
we?
wir?
Who is
Wir
Eberspächer?
sind
What do
einer
we
der
do?
führenden
We are one of the
Zulieferer
leading
im Automobilbereich,
suppliers in the
führend
automotive
im Bereich
industry,
Abgastechnik,
leading in exhaust
Fahrzeugheizungen
technology,
und Klimasysteme.
climate control
Aber was haben
systems
wir denn
and
zusammen
heatings.
mit MHP
But
gemacht?
what
Oder was entwickeln wir gerade mit MHP?
are we doing together
Wir
with
entwickeln
MHP?
eine
Or what did
digitale
we do with
Plattform,
MHP? We're
e-Connected,
developing a
mit dem
digital
Zweck, dass wir
platform,
unseren
e-Connected.
Kunden neue
The purpose of
digitale
that is
Dienste
that we want to
bereitstellen können.
offer new digital services to our customers.
Wenn man sich mal die übergeordnete Vision des
If you look
Ganzen
at the
anschaut von dieser Plattform von
overarching vision
e-Connected,
of this
dann möchten wir
e-connected
zunächst einmal
platform,
die Vernetzung auf
first of
der
all,
Komponenten- oder
networking
Device-Ebene
at
schaffen.
component and
Das heißt,
device
wir
level
möchten
is
Komponenten
the
im
first step.
Fahrzeug
So components
vernetzen,
inside the
möchten
vehicles
Daten
are
über
connected.
beispielsweise ein
We
Gateway
want to be
in die
able
Cloud
to
senden und
send
dann
data
eben
through a gateway
über die
into the
Cloud
cloud
oder
and
mit der
then
Cloud, mit
via
unserer
the
Plattform
cloud with
neue
our
Anwendungen
platform,
bauen,
we
über die
can
wir dann
build
unseren
new
Kunden neue
applications which
Lösungen
will offer our
im
customers
Sinne
new
von digitalen
solutions
Diensten
in the sense of
zur Verfügung
digital
stellen können. Was sind das
services.
für Dienste?
What are these
Alles
services?
Mögliche,
Different services,
beispielsweise
very
Predictive
diverse. For example,
Maintenance-Lösungen,
preventive
aber auch
maintenance solutions,
Visualisierung
but
von
also
Daten,
visualization of
digitale
data,
Zwillinge
digital
oder die
twins,
Steuerung von
or
Geräten.
controlling devices.
Wenn man sich mal unser Produktportfolio
Now,
anschaut,
if you look at our
dann
product
sieht man hier
portfolio,
die
you can see
Geräte, die den
that
meisten
we have
AWS noch
devices
bekannt sind, unsere
that most of you
Fahrzeugheizungen
know
mit den
are
Winnen-Elementen.
heaters with
Was wir
the
aber auch noch in unserem
operating
Portfolio
elements.
haben,
This is something
sind
everybody knows, but we
Kühlcontainer
also
und
have
Kühlboxen.
cooling boxes and
Wir
cooling
haben so eine
containers.
Kühlbox, die gibt's auch noch in
This is
ganz
maybe
anderen
less
Varianten,
known,
von ganz
and
klein
we
bis
have
ganz
them from
groß
very
und
small
wozu
to
sind sie
very
gedacht?
large in different
Für den
variants. And
Transport
what are they for?
von
They
Lebensmitteln
are
oder
used to
Arzneimitteln.
transport
Und was ist der
medical
Vorteil von
supplies
so einer
or food
Kühlbox,
products. And what's the advantage of a
beispielsweise im
cooling
Gegensatz zu
box
einem
like this?
Kühlfahrzeug, das einfach
For
viel
example, vehicle compared with a refrigerated vehicle. It is more mobile. You have a car and you can put a refrigerated box or a refrigerated container into that. And looking at the supply chain, where a refrigerated container is used for transport, we have, of course, different stakeholders along the supply chain, and they're all interested in getting the merchandise, the goods, in perfect condition from A to B, perfectly refrigerated. So we're offering not just that, that is the box, but also a cold chain monitoring application. In the future, our customers will have the possibility to transport their goods safely, that is refrigerated, and we can also provide proof that the refrigeration chain was not broken. What does that look like? First of all, we have the refrigerated box, and here the interesting thing is that we don't have a complicated temperature sensor, but we have a Bluetooth low energy temperature beacon that has a life of up to 7 years. It measures the temperature inside the refrigerated box and sends it to our gateway via Bluetooth. And the gateway is also part of the refrigerated box. It sends the temperature data, but also the standard data of that box, for example, shock values or the battery level, to our platform. There, this data can be prepared in the form of a web application where customers can view and evaluate that data. I have put in an animation here. This is what it looks like right now. First, we have our dashboard, and on that dashboard you have an overview, and when you click into the details of a refrigerated box, you see a temperature chart. So the curve shows us whether the temperature is within the limits. Also, it is possible to see what the latest trajectories were, and you can get an email alert when the temperature exceeds or falls below a certain limit that is defined. You can also manage the alarms or the alerts. You can create users, you can administer users, and very importantly, the customer can also provide documentation and proof of the temperature that has been kept throughout the transport operation, and can prove that to their customers. There are also legal requirements that prescribe that, so it is something that helps you to maintain optimum compliance, and this is our service for cold chain monitoring. Very good. Now we know how that works from the customer's point of view. You just saw the demo of the front end. I would now like to go into the technical architecture a bit and how we arrived at that architecture. What you see next to me are the 6 pillars of the AWS well-architected framework, and this is something we also used for the cold chain monitoring solution. And that well-architected framework is really just a number of concepts, design principles, and best practices how architecture of workloads can be managed in the cloud. In addition to that framework, there are so-called lenses. These are enhancements of the framework, usually for a certain industry or technology. And for the cold chain monitoring, we used particularly the IoT lens. The 6 pillars you see here, there are a number of questions which you have to address as an architect or team, and depending on the answer, you can see here whether the architecture still has gaps, if there is improvement potential, or as Christian Lindner put it, are there any thorny opportunities? Now, AWS also offers a tool. It's available on the console where I can answer a number of questions and you get the improvement suggestions given by the system. So if any one of you here in the auditorium is interested in or working in developing services in the cloud, I would recommend to familiarize yourselves with that framework. And next we go from the well-architected framework to the final architecture. You see in this diagram all relevant system components are at a very high level view. This is a typical reference architecture for IoT use cases. For example, at the top left you have the device level. This is the actual refrigerated box, and this contains the sensors and the gateway which sends the data into the cloud. Then we have the cloud level, level, where you have a number of components too, for connectivity, alerting functions, security is all there. But of course I don't want to go into too much detail going through the system architecture or the data flow, but rather highlight the three most important components which were important for the cold chain monitoring and are also important for many other IoT use cases.
The
first component and service is the IoT core. As we just saw in the diagram, this is responsible for the connectivity of the system, and the name implies the IoT core is really the core of IoT use cases running on the AWS. You can also imagine as a gate into the cloud, the box sends in an interval of every 10 minutes the telemetry data to the dashboard. So every 10 minutes we receive from the refrigerated container the temperature, the GPS data, the position data, the driving behavior, because we have a shock sensor too, battery status, etc. The IoT core is interesting for architects and developers because it's a fully managed, scalable message broker. I can connect my device fleet with it and also scale it. And what's important, scalable really means really scalable. AWS offers up to 1 million device connectivity and 1 million of messages processed simultaneously. The communication is bidirectional. Telemetry data can be received from the devices, but I can also communicate to them, for example, control my device remotely or also install updates.
The
second service I want to talk about is the so-called IoT Device Defender. This is a service from the security and compliance area, especially for IoT solutions. The main features of this are auditing and threat detection functions or support. And now the question is maybe, why is this so important? In a world that's increasingly connected, especially with the IoT, and that is growing all the time, there are many more attack vectors, and by regular auditing you can, as a customer, identify those vectors and also identify and eliminate or at least minimize those risks. IoT Defender can, for example, carry out a number of automatic checks, which are comparisons, for example, the device configuration with the best practices, and then are there any deviations? The second IoT Device Defender feature is Device Defender Detect. This analyzes in the background a large number of telemetry data, and through machine learning it analyzes the behavior of the device and possible deviations from the senders. I said that it sends telemetry data every 10 minutes, but if I see in my use case that the box is spamming me in a 5-second interval, I can maybe detect that the device has been compromised, or if I receive messages from a different IT address, and the defender would then recognize this, trigger an alert, and I as a user can investigate the situation and see what I can do about it. The third and final service I want to present here is the Amazon Location Service. This is a relatively recent AWS service. Last year when we started the project there was only a developer preview available, and the development of the cold chain monitoring has really been accelerated by that and made easier too. What can the location service do? It facilitates for the developer to put standard functionality into the application. For example, object tracking, the map representation in my application. I want to have a route planner functions. These are standard functionalities which the location service offers, and with the cold chain monitoring solution you saw it, where, for example, the distance covered is visualized in the map. And as a developer I can also choose between different map styles. I can use satellite images, and something that's relatively new, very interesting I think, map information for trucks, for example with indications what the maximal width or height, clearance height is, or maximum clearance width. And this is of course very important for logistics use cases, truck transport that is.
Ja, zum Schluss habe ich euch
And finally, I have brought a little bonus question, namely, what are the advantages of cloud-native architectures? First of all, cost is very important. Unfortunately, I cannot give you any absolute figures in my presentation, but I can give you one highlight, and all AWS customers benefit from that now. And that goes back to our use case, because we at AWS actually noticed something in the location service was such that we had a different time model.
War es Anfang so, dass das Preismodell von AWS
The price model of AWS location services had a different pricing model, and the Eberspächer use case, we didn't find it very practical for that. So from an asset-based pricing model where I pay for every tracker, we changed to a pay-per-use model, which meant for us that cost was reduced by 90%. And another advantage I would like to stress here is agility and shorter development cycles. You can see here that the MVP, within 3 months, it was made with a developer team of 4 people. And by the way, compliments to the team, Katja, Thilo, Peter, and Michael. And the reason why we were so fast was that we used mainly managed services. So as a developer, I really can concentrate on my core competencies, and I don't need to worry about scalability or how to handle the operation of the servers or the maintenance of the servers. And as a third point of cloud-native architectures is scalability. And scalable really means scalable. 100 or 100,000 refrigerated boxes, it doesn't matter. A solid cloud architecture will support both. So much from us. Thank you very much for your interest and your attention. Enjoy the rest of the festival, enjoy the presentations, and remember, stay cool.